Every night, while you sleep, your heart is either recovering or quietly struggling. You cannot feel the difference. Your partner may not notice. Your doctor may not know unless they have run the right tests. But the research on what happens to the cardiovascular system during sleep has advanced dramatically in recent years. And what scientists now understand about nighttime heart risk is changing the way cardiologists think about prevention. Tonight, what you do in the 2 hours before you close your eyes may matter more to your heart than almost anything you did during the day. And the most important factor is probably not what you expect. After years of caring for patients with cardiovascular conditions, I have learned something that took me time to fully appreciate. The heart does not rest when you sleep. In fact, the early hours of sleep represent one of the most critical windows of cardiovascular vulnerability in the entire 24-hour cycle. Between midnight and 6 in the morning, your blood pressure should drop naturally by 10 to 20%. Your heart rate should fall to between 50 and 60 beats per minute. Your parasympathetic nervous system, the body's recovery mode, should take over. When all of this happens correctly, you wake up genuinely refreshed and your heart has aged a little less overnight. When it does not happen, the heart continues working under elevated load for 6, 7, 8 hours straight while you lie still, unable to sense any of it. In this video, I am going to walk you through the 5 nighttime habits that may be silently placing extra strain on the heart of millions of Americans over 60. And the most surprising one is not what you would guess. I will also share what you can do differently starting tonight. This video does not replace medical care, but it may help you have a more informed conversation with your physician. Let us begin. Let me explain what happens to your heart overnight, because understanding this will change how you approach sleep entirely. Think of your heart like a high-performance pump that runs continuously from before birth to the very last moment of life. During the day, it operates at elevated output because you are moving, thinking, and responding to the world around you. At night, it should shift into a maintenance mode. Blood pressure should ease down, heart rate should slow, and the nervous system should enter its restoration phase. When that transition occurs smoothly, the heart undergoes repair and recovery. When it does not, the heart remains under a kind of invisible continuous stress. The American Heart Association calls patients whose blood pressure fails to drop overnight non-dippers, and research consistently shows that non-dippers carry a cardiovascular event risk 2 to 2.5 times higher than patients with normal nocturnal patterns. Most non-dippers have no idea they are non-dippers. They sleep, they wake, they feel vaguely unrested, and the nightly stress on their heart continues unrecognized. Hidden risk number 5. Eating a late, heavy dinner, especially with red meat and high sodium. What time do you eat dinner? 8 o'clock? Sometimes 9? And what does that dinner typically include? If the answer involves substantial protein, salty foods, or a large meal within 2 hours of lying down, here is what that means for your heart. A heavy evening meal, particularly one rich in animal protein and sodium, directs significant blood flow toward the digestive system precisely when the heart needs to begin slowing down. Insulin rises sharply. Blood pressure climbs to support digestion. And when you lie down, the heart is still in the middle of a metabolic process that may continue for 3 to 4 hours. Research published through the American Heart Association found that eating after 9 p.m. increases the risk of nocturnal hypertension by 28% in adults over 60, simply by the timing of the meal. Frank was 67 years old, a retired engineer from Sacramento, California. Every evening between 8:30 and 9:30, he ate a full dinner, including a large protein portion and a salty side. When we reviewed his 24-hour blood pressure monitoring, his pressure at 2 a.m. was nearly as high as his peak daytime readings. His heart had essentially no recovery window overnight. We shifted his dinner to 6:30 and reduced his evening protein load. Within 6 weeks, his nighttime blood pressure pattern had normalized for the first time in years. I didn't realize how much timing mattered, he told me. What you can do: aim to finish dinner at least 2 hours before lying down. Choose lighter evening meals with less animal protein. Avoid high-sodium foods like cured meats, aged cheeses, and packaged soups at night. But hidden risk number 4 is even more deceptive because it involves something you do in the last 30 minutes before you turn off the lights. Hidden risk number 4: using a phone or watching television in bed until falling asleep. I understand. Almost everyone does this. It feels harmless, even relaxing. But what happens to your brain and your heart when you expose your eyes to blue light from a screen in the 30 minutes to 2 hours before sleep is one of the most significant findings from sleep medicine in recent decades. Blue light from screens actively suppresses melatonin production. Melatonin is the hormone that signals the heart it is time to begin slowing down. Without adequate melatonin, the sympathetic nervous system, your body's alert and response system, remains activated even after you are lying down. Blood pressure does not drop, cortisol does not ease, the heart does not enter recovery mode. And when you eventually fall asleep, the body enters rest without having passed through the deceleration phase that should precede sleep. Research from Harvard Medical School, involving more than 12,000 participants, found that screen use in bed for more than 1 hour increases the likelihood of elevated nocturnal blood pressure by 34% in adults over 55. Margaret was 70 years old, a retired teacher from Phoenix, Arizona. She had watched television in bed for 14 years. "I genuinely cannot fall asleep without it," she told me. Her 24-hour blood pressure monitoring showed her pressure at 3 a.m. was consistently higher than at 6 p.m. She was a severe non-dipper with no prior awareness of it. We introduced a screen-free evening routine, 30 minutes of reading under warm light, chamomile and lemon balm tea, and a simple breathing exercise. Within 6 weeks, her nighttime blood pressure pattern had normalized. "I had no idea the television was doing that," she said. What you can do: turn off all screens at least 45 minutes before sleep. Replace the phone with a book or a magazine. Use warm amber light in the bedroom in the evening. Enable night mode on your phone if you need to use it late. Hidden risk number 3 may surprise you even more because it involves something you take believing it is helping you. Hidden risk number 3: taking heart or blood pressure medication without food or at the wrong time of day. This is one of the most under-discussed issues I see in my practice, and one that almost no physician has sufficient consultation time to explain thoroughly. Many blood pressure and cardiac medications have specific windows of action. Taken at the wrong time, they may cause blood pressure to drop too far during the overnight hours, creating what we call nocturnal hypotension. When pressure drops below an adequate level during sleep, the brain and heart receive temporarily reduced blood supply. This is when nocturnal arrhythmias and, in more serious cases, ischemic events can occur without the person ever waking. The Mayo Clinic recommends that antihypertensive medication timing always be individualized based on each patient's nocturnal blood pressure profile. The essential point is this: when you take your medications should not be decided by convenience alone. It should be decided with your physician based on your 24-hour blood pressure results. Richard was 72 years old, diabetic, hypertensive, retired from Cleveland, Ohio. He took all of his blood pressure medications together at 10 p.m. because it was easy to remember before bed. His 24-hour monitoring showed pressure of 86/50 at 3 a.m. He attributed his frequent morning dizziness to poor circulation. We adjusted his medication schedule with his cardiologist, and the overnight dizziness resolved within 2 weeks. What you can do: never adjust your medication timing without guidance from your physician. Ask about ambulatory blood pressure monitoring, a 24-hour test covered by Medicare for qualifying patients. That test shows exactly what your pressure does while you sleep. Now, I really need your full attention for what comes next, because it appears to be a healthy habit. And that is exactly why it misleads so many people. Hidden risk number 2: exercising intensely after 8 p.m. Do you go to the gym in the evening, take a brisk walk after dinner, any vigorous physical activity after 8 p.m.? I understand that modern schedules often leave no choice about timing. But what happens to the cardiovascular system of a person over 60 when they exercise intensely in the last hours of the day is important to understand. Vigorous physical activity powerfully activates the sympathetic nervous system, It releases adrenaline, raises heart rate, elevates blood pressure, and increases cortisol. All of this is genuinely beneficial when the energy generated is used during active daytime hours. But when this activation occurs at 9 or 10 p.m., the cortisol and adrenaline peak takes 4 to 6 hours to fully dissipate. This means that when you lie down at 11 p.m. after a 9 p.m. workout, your nervous system is still in an alert state. The heart does not receive the signal to ease down. The nocturnal blood pressure drop does not occur. Research published in the Journal of the American Heart Association with cardiac patients over 55 showed that vigorous exercise performed less than 3 hours before sleep increased the incidence of nocturnal arrhythmias detected by 24-hour Holter monitoring by 41%. This does not mean stopping exercise. It means adjusting timing. What you can do: prioritize exercise in the morning or early afternoon. If evening is the only option, choose gentle activity after 7 p.m., such as a relaxed walk, stretching, or light yoga. Keeping the last 2 hours before sleep as a calm-down window is one of the most protective changes you can make for your heart. And the closer we get to number 1, the harder it is to believe. The next one is already significant, but number 1 is going to change everything you think you know about what happens when you close your eyes at night. Let me know in the comments what city you are watching from today. I always love hearing where you are. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please click the subscribe button now and turn on notifications. The next video may be exactly what someone in your family needs to see. And now we reach number 1. Before you read further, I want to reassure you that this is something that can be diagnosed and treated, and the results of treatment are often remarkable. Number 1 is undiagnosed obstructive sleep apnea. You may know what snoring is. Your partner may mention it. You may occasionally wake with a sensation of breathlessness. But what most people do not know is what happens inside the heart during an apnea episode. When the airway becomes obstructed during sleep, breathing stops. It may stop for 10 seconds. It may stop for 40 seconds. It may happen 30, 50, or 80 times in a single night. Each time breathing stops, blood oxygen levels fall sharply. The brain detects the emergency and triggers an alarm. The heart accelerates suddenly. Blood pressure surges. The sympathetic nervous system activates in emergency mode. The person does not fully wake, but the heart has just experienced an acute stress event. Now multiply that by 50 episodes per night, 7 nights per week, 52 weeks per year for 10 years without diagnosis. A study published in the New England Journal of Medicine following more than 6,400 patients found that severe untreated sleep apnea increases the risk of cardiovascular mortality during sleep by 2.6 times in men and 3.5 times in women over the age of 60, 2.6 and 3.5 times. And according to CDC data cross-referenced with the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, it is estimated that more than 70% of Americans over 60 with moderate to severe sleep apnea have never received a diagnosis. They snore, they shift in bed, they wake tired, they accept "I just sleep poorly" as their answer, while the heart endures nightly stress year after year. Patricia was 66 years old, a retired nurse from Atlanta, Georgia. Her husband had mentioned her snoring for over a decade. She woke every morning with a headache, dry mouth, and the feeling that sleep had not refreshed her. Overnight, Holter monitoring showed repeated arrhythmias between 2 and 4 a.m. A sleep study confirmed severe sleep apnea, 56 obstructive episodes per hour, 56 per hour. When she began CPAP therapy, the device that maintains open airways during sleep, the arrhythmias were completely absent on the follow-up Holter performed 3 months later. "My husband said it was the first night in years that he did not hear me snore," she told me. What you can do, if you snore, if you wake with a sense of breathlessness, if you wake with a headache, if you feel tired after 8 hours of sleep, ask your physician for a sleep study referral. Many sleep studies are now covered by Medicare. That test records everything that happens to your body overnight: breathing patterns, blood oxygen saturation, heart rate, movement. Do not delay asking. Do not minimize snoring. Do not accept poor sleep as a complete answer. Pay attention to signals your body may already be giving you. Waking with a morning headache may indicate nighttime oxygen reduction. Feeling more tired upon waking than when you went to sleep. Noticing your heart racing at night without apparent cause. Waking with a sense of breathlessness, or getting up to urinate more than twice overnight. That last one can be caused by the heart working under increased load during sleep and releasing a hormone that prompts the kidneys to produce more urine. All of these warrant evaluation. Ask your physician for an ambulatory blood pressure monitor, a 24-hour Holter heart monitor, and a sleep study if you snore or consistently wake unrefreshed. Many of these are covered under Medicare for qualifying patients. Here is your action plan starting tonight. First, finish dinner at least 2 hours before lying down and choose lighter evening meals. Second, turn off all screens 45 minutes before sleep and replace them with reading under warm light. Third, confirm with your physician whether your medication timing is appropriate for your nocturnal blood pressure profile. Fourth, if you exercise in the evening, move vigorous activity to before 7 p.m. Fifth, establish a wind-down routine, 10 minutes of deep breathing or gentle stretching before sleep. Sixth, if you snore or wake unrefreshed, schedule that appointment this week and ask specifically about a sleep study. Do not put it off. A study published in the European Heart Journal in 2023, analyzing 38,000 cardiovascular patients across 17 countries, found that 52% of fatal cardiac events occurring between midnight and 6 a.m. were directly associated with at least one of the modifiable nocturnal risk factors you have just learned about. 52%. More than half of nighttime cardiac deaths were linked to habits that could have been changed. That number changes everything. Dear friend, sleep should be the safest part of your day, a time of healing, repair, and renewal. And it can be if you take care of what happens in the hours that lead up to it. You are here because you care about your health. That matters enormously. Please share this video with someone you love who snores, with someone who falls asleep with the television on, with a son or daughter who is quietly worried about a parent. In the next video, I will reveal a silent warning sign that appears in the fingernails and feet and may indicate compromised arteries. Something 9 out of 10 people completely overlook. You will not want to miss it. May God bless you and give you much health. Until next time.